been a few weeks since I made a video because I've been waiting for all my parts to come in, and they finally all came in. It was a little tough for businesses to get some of the Rainbird equipment. They still don't have enough poly for me yet. They're selling out within 2 hours of receiving any, and all related to COVID, so understandable. But I finally have all my parts for my booster pump that I need to connect it and have it set up the way I want it to prevent any kind of damage to the pump in case we lose pressure or they shut the water off and don't tell me. And I finally have all my parts. There's a lot of assembly that's going to be going on. So I'm going to show you a little bit of where we're headed and what we have to do next, and probably a little bit of the work that I'll be doing this weekend. So, boom. So here are my boxes of parts. I'll go through them real quick. I've got about 150 clamps that I'm going to need for poly. There's $100. These are my 25-foot heads. They're gear-driven Rainbird rotors. I think that's the right way to say it. I don't know. Anyway, these guys will spray about around 25 feet. These are for some of my bigger areas. I've got 11 these guys. This box has all the different kind of connectors I need. These are saddles, and I've got my tees over here and all the different stuff there. That was a lot. My valves are on here. I've got 13 of these guys. And those will go in these manifolds that I bought. I've got a 5, a 4, and 2 manifolds. So those will be for my different zones. And part of that, the reason I have to do them that way is just the way the yard exists. When we bought the house, there was already so much mature landscaping and trees that it was just easier to work with the landscape than try to fight it into a way I wanted it. We got bags of rock. I'm probably gonna have to pick up a couple more. I realize those are gonna go underneath the manifolds and the valves, so there's a little bit of drainage. And I mean, the valves that were in there were just, I don't know, they were neglected, and they were just buried in dirt and mud, and it was a nightmare getting them out. If I'd known I was going to replace them all with newer, I would have just broke them out of there, but that'll prevent this from happening. And then these are all my pop-ups that I'm going to be using. I think I have about 40 of those. And then if we walk over to my bench, I finally cleaned it up a little bit. I'm getting ready to do some assembly. I've got a lot of my booster parts here. I wanted to get as much galvanized as I could. I still have to put it all together, and I'll make a video showing that. And then this mess is going to end up being how I struggled to figure out how I was going to blow my lines out or how I was going to drain them. And I would have had to trench way differently than I did if I wanted to just use gravity, which would have been easier probably, but I didn't think that far ahead. One of the other mistakes I made. So what I'm doing is I'm going to build an adapter that I can put my pneumatic, use a compressor, and I'm going to use the ball valves to isolate all the valves from the main. So basically you hook your pneumatic in here. This will be closed off from the main, and it forces the pressure. You open up your valve and it forces the pressure through the valves. A lot of smaller systems, they can just use one of these guys. They just plug it in, it'll blow all the lines out. I feel like my system's big enough that the compressor would be working overtime to do it. So I'm putting one near each of my valve boxes. I'll have 4 boxes, and that way I can isolate it and it's closer to the valves, and it'll be easier to blow them out. So we're going to see how that works this year. And then I've got to do all this is all like 1-inch poly I'm using over here. I'm going to connect these with poly. There'll be poly over here. I need to pick up 2 more of these. They were sold out of these at Home Depot and Lowe's when I went, so hopefully they have them by now. I just forgot to order those, but it'll be a couple weeks as I put everything together. But I'm going to start gluing this stuff together today. All right, so the first thing I was going to do today was, that actually contributes and isn't just planning, was to mount the booster pump. So I got the hammer drill out and I drilled through the concrete. Now the concrete's looks to be about 2.5 to 3 inches thick, but unfortunately it's not that thick the whole way through. And I was going to use 1 7/8 inch sleeve anchors to secure it. Problem is, it's only about a 1/2 inch thick in the middle, maybe an inch. But so the sleeve anchor, I put it in and it fell out. so there's no way to secure it using those. So what I did instead was I sat and thought about whether I wanted to pour a slab, because that won't be, even on the edges, I drilled an extra hole right here just to see if it would, if it was deep enough there, and it's not deep enough there either. I dug a little hole under here, and I'm just using regular bolts. I'm just gonna leave that hole open, and I'm just gonna put one up through there with a washer, and then put another washer on the top and secure it. I've already got 3 of them in, so I'm on my way to getting this all put together. I'm going to secure those right now, and then I'm going to start building all the connections that are going in and out of the pump. So I'll cut for now and show you that once I get some of that done. All right, booster pump is secured now. I got it nice and tight with a little bit of give. If I come over here and give it a little grab, it moves a little still. That'll all change as I secure it over here. I'm also going to fashion a strap across the top of it there and anchor it in there at the back side as well, which will provide some more support so it doesn't vibrate. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a nipple union, another nipple. This is going to be a ball valve that will isolate the pump from the secondary supply, which is going to trace down through here and around to the front where that the pump for the inlet for the secondary is, the ball valve that allows me to connect to the secondary water. This is just these are different size pipes. I had this old, this is going to be a filter. There'll be a filter here because you get this filthy water coming in from the secondary. You don't want that flowing into your pump. I just took it off so I could put it together a little easier. And all I did right now is I don't have anything connected permanently. I'm just sizing to make sure everything fits the way it's supposed to. So this is the filter. So I'm going to have my PVC is going to come down to the ground there and come around. That's going to be coming into the pump. It'll go through the filter and through this. The union just allows me to take everything apart if I ever need to disconnect the pump for any reason. Then on my outside going to my main line and all my valves, I just have a nipple connecting me. This is going to be where I have my plug for priming, and I'm going to use a pressure gauge on there when I want to test the pressure. Got another union for the same reason. It'll allow me to pull the disconnect from everything, pull the pump off with minimum, disruption to everything else. Another nipple going into an elbow. It'll be going the other way, but that's going to be my low pressure switch. It's going to be connected to the back of my pump over here and connected to this relay. And if they ever shut the secondary water off and don't tell me, it'll go down to, once it hits about 12 psi in my system, it'll kill the pump so it doesn't burn out running dry. This is just another gate valve, I keep saying gate valve, it's a ball valve. And this allows me to isolate everything and turn the water off from the system, so I can, like, for example, so when I want to prime it at the beginning of the season, I close the ball valve, I take the priming plug out, I turn the water on, and when the water is coming through here, it's primed. And then this is going to be just going down into my, it'll go into a couple valves that are going to run my front yard. I haven't put them in yet, obviously. And then it'll go to my main line, which is going to run to the backyard and the rest of the property. So finally making some progress putting this thing together. So I'm going to shut this off now and start connecting everything with some Teflon tape and some Teflon paste, so everything's nice and sealed. That may take a little while. I just cut a piece of PVC and I have to make an elbow now. I'm going to join them together, and I figured this would be show you how I do it. I don't know, this is kind of how my neighbor taught me to do it. I use this stuff, 7-Eleven PVC, weld on. So you take this guy, it's got a little ball, it's really nasty, messy. So you take this guy, you put it on the outside where you're going to make your joint. So just roll it around like that. It sets really fast, so you kind of got to be quick. I don't know why I put it on the inside. You're not necessarily supposed to do that. And then you do the same thing to your elbow. So get some of this stuff in here, put it around the outside, and that gives you a seal. And then you got to pop open this purple stuff that is an absolute nightmare to work with for me. It just leaks everywhere. I'm not particularly skilled. I'm sure there's plumbers out there just losing their mind at what I'm doing. You know what? Bite me. I'm not a plumber. This is the way I do it. And then this guy here, and I just mess it all up. And you take it, you just slide it on like that. and you hold it for about a minute, because if you don't, you've got some really viscous material in there, and the pipe tends to slide out. And taking the time to hold it like this for a minute, you'll end up creating a better seal. This elbow is going to go to the ground for my booster pump. This is the other side of the filter I'm putting on there. So I just figured I hadn't really shown much of what I'm doing, and this was an opportunity to show a little bit of how you do some basic stuff. I had no idea how to do any of this when I bought this house. This is all stuff I've learned from my neighbor who's a plumber. He came over a little while ago and looked at my setup and told me I was doing pretty good. So everything looked good. He lent me a big wrench to use, so I'm on my way. And on that note, I'm going to stop this section, and then I'll show you where I'm headed next. So everything along here is tightened up to this point right here. That piece I just made is going to go in here, and I just wanted to make sure that it fits the way it's supposed to. I may have to dig a little bit more to get it to fit right, but I think once I tighten it, it'll be fine. So now I got to bring the glue out here. The same thing I just did on the elbow I have to do on this joint here, and then I can start working my way down this way. I'm not going to do the outside today because I can just start joining PVC. I can put my spigot in here and route it down there. Yeah, that noise in the background is just the sprinkler head that we're using, connected to just a basic hose bib. This is how we're watering a half an acre right now, in 10 to 15 minute intervals as June rolls in. It's really inefficient, so it's imperative I get this thing done so our yard can get some water and I can frankly stop doing this stuff. I'm getting tired of it, but it takes the time it takes. So anyway, I'll let you see what I do next. All right, it's getting late. I've got that piece glued together, and that's as tight as everything is going to be along this inlet line down to my elbow here. So the last thing I'm going to do, I got to put all this stuff away. I'm not going to do the outlet tomorrow. I did cap. There's a cap it came with on the other side to close it up so nothing can get in there, and I got these guys closed off just to keep dirt, debris, insects, whatever. Like, I had a little ant colony under there. They were not very happy with me when I dug that hole out. I had to wear a glove while I was putting the bolts in because they're taking little bites in my hand. They do not like me. So the next thing I got to do tonight before I finish is this is the way the PVC is going to run. It's going to come down here, and when I come around the front, I'm going to elbow it over here. It's going to come across this way. Now, this was just a temporary hose bib I put in. I'm actually going to cut it there, and I'm going to put it back on this side over here in this little notch I dug out here. So I'm going to run the PVC, I'm going to tee it and put it here, and that'll be a permanent hose bib so I can have access to the secondary water. So what I got to do now is dig this out a little bit. I had put some dirt on there. It was dug out just to keep it from vibrating while we were using it and breaking the PVC. And inside this little guy is the actual shut-off valve to the secondary. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to open that up and probably just shut this guy down. I got this valve right here. I don't know if you can see it. I don't want to just close it off, so I'm isolated from the secondary. Secondary comes in this valve here. It's probably too dark to see. It comes in, it comes out this way. I'm gonna end up cutting this, and then I'm gonna put an elbow in here. And the reason I'm doing it tonight is I need to let it dry. So I need to dig all that out, let it dry before I can glue it all, because it's going to when I cut it, it's going to drain. Whatever water was in that pipe is going to drain out. So I got to get the water out, let it dry out till tomorrow. And ideally, tomorrow's Monday. Ideally, I can get out here Monday and put this together and get the PVC at least isolated or connected to the main. And then I can still, if I can get the hose bib glued in, I can. It's so noisy. There's so many SUVs up here. Off-road vehicles, actually, just run them around. Anyway, I'm going to put the hose bib here, and then maybe I'll be able to use the water, because I have this ball valve keeping the water from going any further than just whatever I connect. And then once that's done, I'll start putting that back together and getting the valves put in. So I made some progress. I lost a little bit of time because of I thought that was thicker, so we had to come up with a solution. We were able to do that pretty good, but all in all, pretty good day's work. Not as fast as I'd like, but I'm learning. And as I go, I'll get quicker at stuff. So I think that's it for this week. Thanks for watching.